Welcome back to the Muddy Waffle Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It's episode 2. It's episode 2. We're filming it.
Upgrades, baby.
It's been a fun couple months of basketball. We've got a lot of things that have changed since the last podcast. We've got a new platform that we're hosting on. Fantrax, which I'd love to get sponsored by them. Oh, should we just write them an email for this 10-person viewed podcast?
Yeah, we're sponsored by Fantrax and Sage.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, to get right into the changes, I want to first ask you guys how you feel about Fantrax.
I'm liking Fantrax a lot.
I like Fantrax, especially the ads on the side that I accidentally click sometimes when I'm trying to do stuff. It is a lot better. You know, it's who found it? Who's it? All right, nice.
Yeah.
I actually forgot that we'd even tried ESPN. Like I didn't even.
Or Yahoo?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yahoo was terrible.
ESPN and Yahoo
was so bad.
Yeah. It was a hilarious weekend at Bear's bachelor party where there was just everybody coming there was just so upset about Yahoo.
Yeah.
And like we all kind of wanted to like yell at somebody about Yahoo, but everybody didn't want it.
Yeah.
So it was just like, oh yeah, this is the easiest decision in the world. Let's just change it.
I think we were like trying to yell at Jacob because he's our commissioner, and
it's like he hates it too.
He, was like,
didn't want it.
Wasn't my thing. Yeah. Yeah, that was just the anti-Yahoo summit.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
And then we remembered we were celebrating Bear's nuptials.
And then we all got COVID except for you.
Can't get COVID, dude. I'm
You're immune to a lot.
I know.
You're like a superhuman. You're like a walking antibody.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oregano oil.
What?
Are we drinking
Is that a thing you rip?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, I gotta mix it into my magnesium breakthrough.
Is that code for like hash oil or what?
Well, you know who needs oregano oil? Kevin Durant.
Yeah, he does holy shit.
Another ankle.
Sorry, pal.
Here we go.
Okay, the one big thing to talk about Fantrax before we go into anything else, though, which is a thing that we've talked about before, which I'm hoping people in the league have realized, the IR functionality with Fantrax and its versatility. Like, almost this is like a PSA, just like when I told everybody in the league to not draft Joel Embiid, and then your brother drafted Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, he's got one IR, so it's okay.
Yeah. The functionality with Fantrax and its IR slot, the red flag, is so much more versatile and it requires more of us to take advantage of it. But it's yet another fun thing that, like, if you're locked in every single day.
That's the key point of it. Exactly what you said. I think it rewards the truly engaged managers. If you're truly kind of not glued to it, but if you're kind of just checking in on your fantasy throughout the night and you notice red flag on my guy, you've got those IR spots, boom, there's no reason not to, especially if he's not playing the next day.
Yeah.
Allows you not to have to drop a guy to bring on a new guy to your roster. So
Yeah.
no, definitely a big change from what ESPN was, where it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Never going back.
Hopefully the league catches on to that, because again, that's a competitive advantage that if you're not using it, you're
losing every week.
Losing out.
Yeah.
There was a scenario this week where I picked up Zachary Risachet.
Big fan.
By the way, not doing bad for the number one. Like, obviously, no one thought he'd be a Wemby number one overall draft pick, but I thought he's actually been doing.
I've streamed him a couple times. I like him.
Yeah, I like him too. He's like a super sexy young Andrew Wiggins, kind of. Anyways, I picked him up like 3 minutes before his game started, and I couldn't put him in my lineup. Because like
The 5-minute rule.
there's a 5-minute rule.
Yes.
So I didn't realize that, but that's a big one. Because if you're cutting it close, that'll burn.
So
you.
you originally found out that, then I went through that same thing because I was trying to add a guy and it was like 4 minutes. I was like, okay,
right.
why didn't? So yeah, and on in addition to that, the 5 minute before the last game, that's when you can add.
Right.
Too. So guys, it's like if there's a 9:30 game, you can add drop 9:25. That's kind of the new 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I much prefer that.
It is good.
It's so much nicer.
Because you have a better idea of what's happening that night, and it's like, okay, the more games have been played, you get a better idea of what you need to target for tomorrow's game. So
Yeah.
plus kids are down, hopefully.
And it's 7:30 for our
West Coasters.
our West Coasters, which makes it a little bit easier for them. So it's a couple months into the league. Who's your favorite player right now? Your favorite fantasy player, I suppose, but like, who are you just
roster
loving?
Specific to your roster? Or
I think
just
on any roster, just like somebody that you're just like, oh, I fucking love this guy.
I feel like we have the same. I'm gonna say Jalen Williams.
Yeah, of course, dude.
Dude.
Oh,
First of all, true 8-cat guy. We have 8 categories.
Yeah.
True 8-cat guy.
4 positions, I believe.
Yeah,
The
which is
center,
crazy.
when he got the center des, and that's short for designation. First of all, Jacob needed that because he didn't have many centers,
Yeah.
and I, as I wont to do, will be like, oh, this team has nothing at this position.
Yeah.
Let me go try to trade him a center. He actually traded me Claxton, so that doesn't really. Oh no, I did trade him. I traded him Pirtle.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And I was like, okay, Jacob wants Pirtle. Makes sense for me to trade him Pirtle. We ended up getting the trade done. But when Jalen Williams got a center designation, I was like, well, what the F? So my question now becomes, will he lose it?
Once Chick comes back? Or,
Well, Hartenstein's.
oh yeah. I don't know what if they're on their own position configuration, or if they just follow whatever ESP, because ESPN and Yahoo have different ones, obviously,
Yeah.
like different designations. So I don't know if Fantrax has their own one, or if they are just in sync with the ESPN. Because I don't know. I'd have to look. But
Well, so like NBA.com, each of the teams has their own like sub page, and they list their depth charts. But I think it's like some kid who works for the team will probably list the depth charts
Yeah.
based on who's playing what. So maybe that's what Fantrax bases it on. Because if you go on the NBA, site, you'll see in the Thunder's depth chart, he's listed in all those positions.
Like he's
He's like
name's like-
third rotation,
Yeah.
small
For that,
forward,
yeah.
second
His
rotation
name's up
power
there, yeah.
forward, fourth rotation center. He's just fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And it's like my biggest regret of the year, and I could show everybody my draft sheet.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest regret of the year is like putting money toward DeJounte Murray, because I thought that during the draft, my biggest regret was looking at DeJounte Murray and saying, wow, he's only going to go for 27. This is so undervalued for a guy that might be
It's
top
exactly
20,
what
top
Jalen
30.
Williams for. I just pulled it up.
Exactly.
That's the only benefit of Yahoo app now, is that I have that frame of reference for what the auction values were. It's the only,
Yeah.
the only way I'm going to
I've done that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I was in that battle with Jacob, and I just didn't have enough money to get him, and I was like, fuck, I think this is a huge mistake, because I just saw him as like ready to explode.
I'm trying to remember when. I'm just pulling it up now.
He went late in the draft.
He did, because
Yeah.
pick 57. So 57th nomination.
Yeah.
So that's, you guys are both.
If you're Jalen Williams, I'm going to change mine if I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
I'll say Jalen Johnson. I like Jalen Johnson a lot.
Yes.
That's all.
That's it?
I mean, I just.
I was in the middle of just eating bread.
It's like there's some parallels between him and Jalen Williams in that, he's a forward in one of these scenarios where he's good on offense, good on defense, and he'll get you. He actually misses more free throws than Jalen Williams, but he also, he's steals, blocks, threes, points, rebounds, assists,
Dude.
good field goal. So
He's awesome.
And he's a huge reason I think why Chris's team is at the top of the standings or towards the top of the standings.
Yeah. Does anybody know off the top of their head how much Jalen Johnson went for? I suppose we could look at Yahoo.
I think figure it out right here. I think he was probably around the $20 range. I would say maybe it's 15, 16, somewhere near. Let's see.
Yeah. Because that's like a $30 value guy if you're gonna, if everything's even, that's a $30 guy.
Yeah.
At least. $20.
$20.
Yeah, fuck.
20
That's
bucks,
awesome. That's an awesome thing by Chris.
Yeah, that's good.
38 pick or 38 nominated. $20. I'm gonna keep it close to the chest and De'Aaron Fox right now.
Oh yeah.
Even though he's just balling out for me right now, which is I need it because he's kind of offsetting, and I think this is a topic as far as that's coming up that I'll save it for that. Kind of offsetting a little bit of Halliburton's roller coaster ride. His home and away splits are insane. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have maybe looked at that, but it's crazy to look at his home and away splits.
Oh yeah.
I haven't even seen it. I've seen that he's like, had a lot of down games. Are those at home or on the road?
On the road.
He's just.
I should pull it up. I'll pull it up when we're talking about that. I'll get it queued up though. But yeah, that's my guy.
He'll go from 28 points to 8 points to 30 points to 15 points. Like he'll just jump that much.
Yeah.
That much in his variance. I'm just like looking at his games right now. I mean, he had a 4-point game in Houston, next to a 16-point game, an 18-point game, and then goes off for 30, 20. It's just like this wild thing where he's, if he's at home, if he's in his,
right.
king size sleep number mattress, he's scoring 30.
But no, that's yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Do you have I mentioned my biggest mistake was not drafting Jalen Williams. I think about it every night before I go to bed. Do you guys have like a draft mistake, or like a thing that you look back on and you're like, gosh, I was thinking about this going into the draft and I went against my better judgment, or
I do.
Great.
Lead it off if you got something on it.
Well, I think I've probably said it out loud a handful of times, but I didn't do nearly enough auction draft prep, and so my strategy was to get Jokic and then figure it out. And then I'm actually happy with the fact that I also got Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even mind the fact that I went and got Durant in addition, because when he's been on the field or on the court, he's been good. But that left me with very little dollars.
Yeah.
And I had not prepped enough to know what to do with the little dollars I had left, and so I spent 12 on Giddey and 6 on D'Lo, and that was it. I was done.
You were dollar players.
So I came out of that draft with my big three: Jokic, Tatum, KD, and then my 4th and 5th best players were Giddey and D'Lo, and that's so gross.
Yeah.
So I regret that. Looking at my team now, I don't mind my team. I actually feel like I've got good depth, but. So it worked out, I think, okay. But man, had I been able to do something else with those $18, like there's 100 guys I would have rather, Levines of the world, the Tyler Heroes of the world,
Yeah.
like that would have been so much better for my roster had I done that instead of D'Lo and Giddey.
Yeah.
Mine is for sure Jalen Duren.
You fucking hate that guy.
Dropped him. I saw that.
I had to drop him. His minutes are way down. Well, not way down, but his minutes are significantly down from last year. He's only playing I don't know if this is partially the foul trouble that he gets in this year, or with the new coach, they're just different rotations. But his minutes are he's playing 8 less minutes, which is a lot for a center. That's a lot of potential fantasy stats that can be accumulated, and that's just I couldn't hang on to him any longer. I tried when you messaged me on the app, I had originally requested a trade.
Yeah.
I just went Duren for Michael Porter.
Okay.
And then I think Wyatt looked blank. Wyatt just looked like it was just you sending me Michael Porter for nothing.
I was like, what you want me to send it?
Just because I think I had dropped it, so I was like, huh. That's interesting I just thought it would have canceled out. I'm not even the trade would have been removed from whatever, but I guess it was still there.
That's so funny. I took that as your thought, which we'll talk about this in a second. I took it as that you were thinking he's got to drop Michael Porter because he's got to stream one more guy in. Do you want to just send him to me?
Which I was looking to try and add a body for last night's game.
Yeah.
I just want anybody is better than nobody right now, and I was like, hey, this guy will help me out with threes and rebounds, which is what I kind of needed.
Oh yeah.
But he had an average game last night, whatever. Average.
MPJ?
Yeah, it's kind
No, he had one of the best games in the league last night, and I didn't start him. I was so upset. He had 4 steals, 24 points. He shot 70%.
You just had too many guys playing?
I had too many guys playing. Yeah, he had an incredible game last night.
I also offered a trade for Michael Porter Jr. How many Michael Porter Jr. trade offers did you receive?
How many Michael Porter Jr. trades did I send out? I sent out so many this week.
Really?
Oh,
yes,
really?
I did.
I didn't even get one. I didn't even know.
I didn't get one either.
We kind of.
I did. You didn't text me back.
Because I was like, I want to talk about that.
We'll talk about that in a second, because I think Michael Porter Jr. is better than half of both of your rosters. and better than like half of the rosters in the league. He's so good, and that's why I haven't dropped him. But we'll get that. We'll get there in a second. But yeah, last night he went off 24 points,
24,
2 blocks, 3 steals.
Damn, I would have loved that.
And that's like what he's been doing. He's been getting you 8 to 10 rebounds.
Good time to put him back out there after that recency bias. He's selling high.
That's what I'm doing with the video. That's why I'm recording the video to get. Yeah.
Pump him up.
What are you gonna just show your tattoo name?
Yeah. Does anybody have any I told you so's, like any preseason takes you had, or like any thoughts that you had before the season started or throughout the season that you're like, I was fucking right about this guy, or I was.
I feel like I know. Are you asking this question for me?
I'm asking it selfishly, so I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
So, I picked up RJ Barrett, and because he was playing great, and I offered him in a few trades, and everyone said he's not actually good, and these stats will go down, including Frank and 5 other people. And the Raptors are an interesting team, right? Because I think we all assumed Scotty Barnes would be their front man for sure, and that they traded OG Anunoby mostly for Emmanuel Quickly, and that Barrett was just kind of the throw-in.
Exactly.
But there's this interesting thing I think that happens actually within teams when new guys are introduced and new players enter new positions, and this happens in football too. RJ Barrett. JT Barrett was a quarterback for Ohio State. I always do this. RJ Barrett might be the best player on that team. I believe that. He was the second pick in the NBA draft, in his draft class, higher than both Quickly and Scotty Barnes. Mm-hmm. And I think if he keeps putting up the numbers he's putting, we're going to be staring at him come the All-Star vote, and we're going to be like,
how could you not put him in?
He's 24, 7, and 6. That is,
yeah.
Is he an All-Star? You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I just...
Shooting 46% from
2 threes a night on 40. I think, so...
If he was to... I'm looking at hashtag right now, but ranked 87th for what I'm seeing right now. If his free throw numbers...
Yeah.
Excuse me, if he could get up to high 70s instead of what he's at now, 71%.
Yeah.
That'd be big for you.
Yeah, because there are those games where, I'm just looking at his stats, and it's there are games where he'll go 2 for 6 or 3 for 7, and that's just killing you in that category.
In the free throw.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
When's Quigley slated to come back? Is it sometime in December, or?
I could look at that.
Because that'll be interesting to.
Danny and I were talking about this. Mid-December at the earliest. It's an elbow tear, which is a Paul George injury thing, and
yeah.
So I don't know. I'd say I think RJ is. Now we're just pumping up guys on our roster, but I think he's gonna actually.
That you're gonna want to trade in the next week.
Yeah. There's been a lot of I told you so's to folks that's a month ago they're like, he sucks. He's gonna be on the waiver wire, and he won't be.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. That's kind of how I feel. I didn't even draft him, but preseason we were kind of talking about who we thought the best rookies would be.
Yeah.
And my take was Alex Sarr. And
Yeah.
I think that's probably true by a mile.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's not an efficient shooter. That's fine, but he gets a couple blocks, a couple steals. He rebounds the ball. He plays minutes. I think this is a weird rookie class. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that take. I have him in the other league, and you can pick up Alex Sarr off waivers. Man, if I needed a center right now,
really not too many rookies holding down permanent roster spots right now.
Right.
I don't think.
No.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what other rookies are any way good.
None.
One that I've kind of liked a couple of times he's played
Like
well.
Bob Carrington?
Is Castle for the
San
Spurs.
Yeah, Castle actually, he might be second.
Like and I don't know if that's. I haven't like watched many Spurs games. I have got League Pass this year, which I don't know if you guys do League Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. The only problem is obviously I can't watch Wolves games, but can't tonight because it's on ESPN. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I haven't watched much. I haven't seen. Maybe what's the guy from Atlanta who was talking about Xander shit? What's his name?
Risa Shea?
Yeah, Rishi Shea. Watch
Xander shit.
It may as well be. I mean,
Xander shit.
That's your New Zealand.
Yeah,
coming out,
I mean he's
Xander
he'll get a rookie.
Well, I think that
he'll get it, but
I think the way that the NBA draft is trending now too is like you see very few 21-year-olds. It's mostly 18, 19, 20-year-olds. It almost is turning into like a baseball draft situation where you draft a guy knowing he won't be a real good player for a couple of years.
This dog is desperate for the lap right now.
He's got
Make your bet,
all I
homie.
love to give.
Yeah,
But what I think that means though for the rookies is that at a minimum, if a rookie starts turning it on halfway through their rookie season, they are way above the curve. You know what I mean? So I kind of don't expect. Even Wemby last year, the first half we were kind of like underwhelmed, and then he turned it on. You know what I mean? I think that's going to happen with a lot of the young rookies.
Who's that kid from the Sixers that does the TikTok dances?
McCain,
Yeah,
Jared McCain.
I like him.
Yeah.
He puts up buckets. I mean, he's not like a great fantasy player. I don't think. Like he's good if you need certain categories.
Yep.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a guy that I feel like we got to touch on is Pritchard.
Oh yeah.
Because that one came out of left field for me, but he's like actually good. Like I wonder, do you guys think Peyton Pritchard should have a full-time roster spot on a team?
I think a lot of it depends on the rest of the roster for that specific team.
Yeah.
Like, I had him for like, I can't remember if it was like 2 weeks or if it was like 1.5 weeks. I decided to hang on to him for a while and then dropped him. But it was like, I think there's just what comes with the territory with Pritchard is there's upside there just based on Boston guys notoriously just randomly sitting out wrist or some random injury that's AKA wrist.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of upside when he gets those additional minutes, but I don't know. I just think I don't know if he offers enough in the rebounds and assists category to warrant a permanent roster spot, because I feel like you could easily just stream a guy who a 3-point shooter and basically get the same benefit. I think that's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, I mean Pritchard's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna be consistent enough to have like a permanent roster spot. I think he's like one of those high tier stream guys.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that maybe you'll have him the entire week if he plays 4 games.
If he's slated for 4 games, and
especially if he has those off day games, which are like so valuable right now.
Mm-hmm.
and especially if you maybe were looking at the level of opponent, if they're playing, for example, I think actually if they're playing like Washington, for example, or some other teams that have notoriously terrible defense this year,
Yeah.
blowouts are in the picture, so he may get additional run in those games as well. So that's how I would look at it that's how I look at it for all my pickups. But yeah, I don't think he's worth a permanent roster spot now. I mean, he's had games where he's put up 7 3s, 8 3s, a couple of those games. You just hope that you've got him on you're streaming him at the time that he goes off.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really good lead into a conversation that I want to have. It's like a general discussion that's like kind of centered around me and my player.
Good.
Selfish. What's generally happening on my team with Michael Porter Jr. is that I am valuing him very high. He's probably the 9th best player on my team. Arguably could be 6th or 7th best player on my team.
77th ranked, Peyton Pritchard, 75 according to hashtag.
That's not crazy. With a fully healthy roster, I'm curious for you guys, this is like general fantasy theory. How many guys do you want to have streaming? If every one of your guys is healthy, how many streamers do you need? to feel good.
3. I like
3 people in and out.
I like 3 because you got to again. It's all about maximizing those games played for me. That's the biggest thing. I'm going to save this for the end, but one of the things that, which is crazy to me to think is I think I've got the most games played, which it doesn't matter. And then there's a guy there's one person in the league who's already like 70, almost 70 games behind games played. And I'm like, how is that possible through this portion of the season?
Yeah.
But anyway.
How do you see that on the app?
So if you go...
This is Technology Corner in the Muddy Waffle Fantasy Basketball Podcast.
If you go...
I see it.
You go standings.
And you can look at games played, I see.
Standings, and then you scroll down.
He is so far back. Almost 70. 67 back.
Yeah.
I see it.
So it's like... How... Like, again, that's just blows my mind.
No.
Crazy. I mean... To go back and answer a question, you were talking about streamer theory.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's 1. I'd like to have 9 very good, healthy players streaming 1. And my thought process there is, if those 9 players are putting, like, their bad games are still okay, right? Like, their bad games aren't 5 points. Their bad games are like, oh man, 13, 4, and 4. That's a shit game for Dennis Schroeder. Whatever. Like if that's the bad game, I'll take that because that's a good stream game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can then maximize your stream every day, right? And so, I know in years past I've tried to do like the back-to-back guys, right? You try to stack on how many guys you can play on the back-to-backs, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, what are we looking at here? Like, oh, Ben Simmons plays a back-to-back. Brooklyn's the only team that has one of 2 teams. You're left to these guys. And then you get 2 shit games out of them.
Yeah, dude.
Or 1 shit game, and you're just like, oh, fuck. So that's where I think...
And sometimes 20 points over 2 games with 30% shooting, like, kills you that week. Like, you don't need that 20 points, but you needed the field goal percentage to, like, be competitive at all.
Yeah.
Plus, and going to your point, the back-to-back, you got to think it's... The probability of a guy going off consecutive games on a back-to-back is lower than going off in consecutive games with a day in between. You know what I mean? Just like the first factor. It's like probability is they're not gonna. One of those games you hope that they just crush it and then whatever happens. But yeah, I adopted that same theory last year, but have been a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Like tentative as far as like just adopting to that being my strategy because like you said it's.
Yeah.
So like this week there's been a lot of high game total days. And so for me, right now, with a fully healthy roster, I have 9 hero guys, 1 stream guy. Normally I want to go 8-2. I like having 2 because of weeks like this where on these high traffic days I have at least 1 person sitting on my bench both of those days, having a good game, and I'm not able to add it to my point total.
Yeah.
And so that's been my conundrum this week with Michael Porter Jr. is he's been one of those guys that has been playing pretty much only on these high volume days. And it's why I've been thinking about trading him. But then like I look at everybody's team and I'm like, I would much rather have Michael Porter Jr.'s
Who dropped him again? Was it Alec? Was he drafted? Michael Porter Jr. was auctioned. He was picked up in the auction, right?
Yeah, we could
remember.
I look in this.
I think it was. I think Alec dropped him.
The rostered. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know where the ownership stats are, but oh yeah, here we go. So
$7 he was auctioned for.
Yeah.
To Alec.
Yeah.
And then he dropped him in November, and I picked him up. And it's like, I think if Michael Porter Jr. is a top 80 guy, the rest of the season,
you'd want.
That's what you want.
That's great.
So yeah, it's been kind of a weird year. I mean, like a weird week because my instinct is to drop him so that I can have 2 streamers.
Yep.
But I've just been fighting against it because every time I do just like any analysis of stats, it's like there's no. It would be stupid to drop him.
There's not a strong case to make the drop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you think that in the event that you drop him, Well, it's going to be interesting to watch now that Gordon's back. It's going to be interesting to monitor that situation too.
Yeah.
So that may dictate things here a little, or lean you one way or the other.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna do something here. I was thinking about.
I can
At 9 a.m. We got 9 a.m. alarms going off.
Fantasy alarm. My radio show is about to start.
That's. So we were just talking about the person that drafted Michael Porter Jr. I would say that we have one member that has struggled with setting his lineup. Mm-hmm. He's currently last in the standings, last in games played, and I've received multiple texts from over half of the league, just wanting to discuss possible solutions to this problem.
Yep.
Not necessarily shit canning him, which is an option, of course. I don't want to do. I mean, clearly a very smart dude who knows basketball was there with us on draft night. There's so many value adds he's already given to the league. Mm-hmm. But I want to talk about a way to police not setting your lineup and what it would look like for us to provide disincentives for doing that. Is it the things that have quickly come to my mind as I've been thinking about is it a cash disincentive where he has to pay in every time he doesn't set his lineup, he adds $20 to the pot, or else he gets booted or something? Or is it maybe every 3 times in a row he hasn't set his lineup, 3 reported times, that's $100 to the pot, or else you're kicked out? But the problem with kicking somebody out, Alec, I think if fully engaged would be very, very good. Mm-hmm. Clearly demonstrated that he's a very smart dude. And then booting somebody in the middle of the season is stupid because we don't have somebody who's actively wanting to join.
Yeah.
So, opening up to the floor.
I think if we start, I love the creativity around penalizing folks that don't set their lineups, but you have to do it for everybody, right? You can't just be if this one person isn't setting their lineup, they have to pay. And it'd have to be, in that scenario, it's somebody's on vacation or somebody's got a long work day and they forget something. I don't want to have to penalize that person. Yeah. So that I guess I might lean against that just personally. I think maybe the best way to do it is either at the halfway mark of the season and again at the end of the season, or just the end of the season. We just hold a vote. Just keep it democratic. And it doesn't need to be about one specific person. It's just check the box of the 12 owners that you want to return, right? And we could just evaluate that and on an annual basis and just keep it democratic, right? There's no one to yell at. It's a collective, it's a communal thing. The cadence, like I said, whether that happens halfway through and at the end or just at the end. If it happens halfway through and somebody does get not enough check marks to stay, then we got to find somebody else and have somebody in the wings. But so I don't know. It's a tricky one for sure, especially because he's got Luka and Wemby. That makes it an interesting.
That would be a team that somebody might want to come and take over.
Yeah.
AKA team blow your load, right?
I'm team blow your load. I think everyone should blow their load as often as they want.
Another option, not necessarily, is to help with that. I guess engagement would be my thing would be to further increase the buy-in. Because that way, again, I'd be comfortable with that. I'm not sure what everybody else's comfort level is, but just putting it out there, I'm thinking down on the spot a little bit. But $500. I don't know what everybody's comfort level, but I'm thinking about it. This is 4 months, 5 months of the year. I'm putting in a lot of time and energy, and it's I could spend $500 on worse things and not have as much enjoyment from it. So. And that way, too, I think that way people would be well, shit, $500. It's what's that, 5 times 12? What's that? I can't do the quick math right now. It's basic math, but what is it?
$6,000.
So, boom. That's a lot. I mean, that's
a ton of money.
That's a golf trip. That's a holiday.
Payments.
That's
I like that idea.
I think that would be the solution. That way, again, people. I would hope that people would care more as a result of that. There would be an extra level of competition as a result of that, because it's this is real money we're talking about. This is it's already real money, but now it's like this is substantial amount of money where it's like, I want to fucking win this.
Yeah.
I want to win this. Not only do I want bragging rights for winning it.
Blake, I'm staring at Blake.
Blake
Like,
is
I want to fucking.
I
love
wanna
it.
fucking
I want to win it, man.
Oh, dude.
So that would be my solution. And I kind of sidebar with earlier with Frank and Ben about potentially format changes to the league and stuff like that. But I think that can be discussed during the off season.
Yeah.
Because there's different ways you can try to experiment, but
Yeah.
again, it's all about what the league's comfortable with and what is a.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that does solve some of the issues Ben's talking about like wanting to penalize somebody financially. We've all not set our lineups.
Yeah.
That being said, we could raise the stakes and then also be like, and also say,
Isn't there
3 missed lineups is $20, and it's like little dings. It's like small dings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe all those dings get added to like a mutual fund that pays for like a trophy or something, or like a thing that's for everybody. So it's like the money that the league takes from penalty.
boys' night out? There's a pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pay for the night. Thank you.
Yeah. Or it's a trophy like the Stanley Cup that we etch somebody's name into every fucking year.
So I was just looking because I remember I saw this. So to help everybody out, there's app functionality that basically 2 clicks of a button you can set your lineup for like the week, start all active players. So I'm not sure if that's just a best practice. Again, I typically on a Monday will go in and just set my lineup for the week. I'm sure everyone's got their own sort of different processes in place on how they manage their roster, but at least that way I know if something crazy happens, I'm at least covered for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's great advice.
Yeah, I think that's good advice, and I also kind of like this idea that I heard from a fantasy football league. I think it's one of Dane's fantasy football leagues where the last place team, and we'd have to figure out how to do this with categories versus in fantasy football, it's just lowest point scored.
Sure.
Basically, every week in this fantasy football league, the low scorer has to put, I think it's like $20 towards a parlay bet.
Oh yeah.
And every other league member picks a player prop.
Ooh, I like this.
And if the parlay hits, those other players get to split the pot, and the guy that had to pay in gets none of it.
Oh, that's so tight.
Yeah,
That's
and
super
it's
fun.
so. In that scenario, it's not only fun. I like that it's both punitive to the lowest performer and also upside and fun for the rest of the league.
It could be like worst record of the month has to do it instead of like weekly. Like
worst record of the month has to, whatever. I think that that could be fun.
That's awesome.
So there's a way you can do that on the app.
Really?
You can look at season stats by period. It's similar to how a Roto League would work, where it's weekly 1 to 12 points for each of the categories, depending on your totals. That's probably how you would implement something like that.
Yeah, lowest roto.
You would just look at the lowest Roto or combined point total, which this week, or is it this week? No, period 1 was Mr. Nate Cohen, 31.5 points.
Got his ass.
Got
his ass.
20 bucks.
That's good.
So I want to talk about our top 3 teams.
Yep.
We're not in those teams, or we're not those teams, and this I want to talk about why they're winning so much. And give them a bit of a shout out. So the top team right now in the league is Tommy's team. Rick Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tommy is winning a lot on the back of LaMelo Ball. Right now, who's like a little injured, but also on the strength of Tyler Hero coming out and scoring 25 points a game or 24 points a game. Pascal putting up a lot of points. Vooch putting up points. I can't think if I've played Tommy or not, but have you guys played Tommy, and what are your thoughts on his team?
Playing this week.
So what are your thoughts on his team?
Well, Tyler Hero went off last night for him.
Yep.
I don't know. I think we're in a close matchup. I've caught a couple of good breaks this week versus him. I think it's making up for last week where I got. Yeah, I don't know if you guys looked at last week's matchup against me and why am I forgetting his name?
What's his team?
Uno. Chris. Thank you. It was a crazy matchup. It was fun to watch because it really came down to the wire. We tied points.
Wow.
And we both had the highest point totals for the week.
No shit.
Steals was decided by one steal. He got the nudge there, but it was just like, man. But the rest, his stats last week were insane. He had I think it was over 200 assists.
Yeah.
It was just insane, but it was it was fun to watch. I'm just happy that it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it could have easily gone the other way where it was, I think it was 2-5-1. It could have easily been the other way around as well, just as easy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what was the question? Tommy squad?
Yep.
Yeah, I've noticed this. He's been hanging on to a lot of his guys. I think he's notorious at that from past memory. He's not a big, he's a one streamer guy. But no, his squad, Vukovic is playing really well this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like his squad actually.
Big thing to look at too. I mean, he
kind of took a similar approach to you and I in the auction, where I think his highest spin was actually sub 50. I think it was Harden was his top guy. I think he got him at 48, 49, something like that, and then kind of build a more balanced roster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, well, actually, we could maybe look at that. Chris's build is also like that. I think his top scorer, who was his top? Trae Young was his top?
Probably, yeah.
Trae was over 50.
Trae was at 50, I think. Right on.
And he spent quite a bit of money on Kyrie, right? Or is that crazy? And Şengün. I bet he had 3 45 plus point or dollar guys. But I'm not even sure.
Trae Young 52, Kyrie 30.
Oh wow, that's a great deal.
Who the hell is James
Fuck.
Harden? No, he doesn't have James Harden. I'm talking about. About Tommy's team, sorry.
I think
Şengün would be a guy to look at.
I think Tommy's team, I'll talk about both of those teams, but I think Tommy's team for me feels a little bit like they're riding a hot streak that is going to cool down.
Mm.
I think LaMelo is averaging 31 points a game on 4.7 threes, and he played every game until he just strained his calf. That, missing a guy that is averaging over 30 on 4.7 threes, and he's getting 7 assists. LaMelo's having an awesome season.
Yeah.
But missing him for a period of time, knowing LaMelo, this could be 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's LaMelo ball. He doesn't play full season. That's gonna hurt. Now he's got a lot of good players. I think Harden is underrated every year. I don't think folks realize how awesome James Harden is. You don't really 1.6 steals and 0.7 blocks doesn't jump off the page, but that's so good for a point guard. And then what Tyler Hero's doing. So I think this team is still good. Vooch is being great, but I think it's right now he's losing this week. It's 3-5. He's losing to Blake. There might be 3 of those in a row where it's 4-4 land, 3-5, 5-3 land for Tommy, and then it
brings him back to the mean.
It brings him a little bit back to the mean.
I'm surprised that he's. I'm not sure what his love affair with Chris Paul is right now, but that's a surprise that he's holding a roster spot.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's ranking. Maybe
it's just I think those 9 assists a game, 8-9 assists a game.
Yeah, that's
with 1.5 steals. I would probably keep that guy.
Yeah, hasn't missed a free throw. That's why.
No. Yeah, that is kind of crazy actually.
Averaging 1.5 free throws a game.
Mm-hmm. But Chris's team, I think, is the best team.
Yeah.
I think
you're playing it this week, right?
I'm playing it this week. And I did the calculus at the beginning of the week to say that I think that I'll be able to 4-4 beat him in points.
Yeah.
At best. Even if I drop Michael Porter and did the stream thing and got 3 more games played, maybe,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been able to catch him in anything else this week.
It's just, I don't think he missed in the draft.
No.
Like, Trey is 12 assists a game, on pace to break NBA records there, and he's also contributing in points and steals and threes, of course.
Yeah.
We just said he got Kyrie for $30. Like, I had mentioned Jalen Johnson earlier,
Yep.
and we, like, that his centers are Şengün, Bam, and Walker Kessler's playing well. Like, he's got Cam Thomas and Miles Bridges on his IR spots. I like both those guys. I think when they're in, like, this team has to be up there in every category.
Yeah.
So I think this is a scary team for me.
Having 4 guys that are top 20 is, like, pretty tough to fight against.
Yeah.
And, like, 4 young guys who are top 20 who, like, haven't missed games except for Trey, which, like, this injury, I don't know what this injury is going to look like for Trey, if
Yeah.
it's bothering him.
He's
Like,
he's only missed like one game though, right?
Right.
He's always got that designation, but yeah.
Which, honestly, for Chris, that's another added benefit of having Trey Young. You can just
I mean,
throw him on
yeah,
IR.
exactly.
Yeah. That's another reason why I like having the 9 studs.
Yeah.
Is somebody's always on IR, and then you're at 8, and then you can do
He was
that.
picking up, yeah.
Yeah. Last team in the top 3 that I want to talk about for a second is Bears team. Elder Bear.
I would say that record is a little fraudulent.
You think so?
Yeah. He got
Speak on it.
What? Basically, both Bear brothers played a absent manager back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Got a little
Yeah.
freeze. It was 7-1 or 8-0?
can't remember what it was. One of them was 8-0.
Yeah.
I think the other one was maybe 7-1. But yeah,
I think Nate Bear is doing a really good job with a not good roster.
Yeah.
And I think his roster would be much better if Chet was healthy. I think if Chet was on this team, it seems like a third place team to me, because Chet was incredible. And Chet went for like $44 or $47 or something. It was a lot. That's a lot to lose a guy for maybe the season.
Mhm.
Like, and the fact that happened and he's still in third is pretty awesome. Now, he's in third for smoking Alex, and he smoked me. Actually,
Yeah.
both Bear brothers are going to smoke me. And when this is how, not to say this happens to every team in every part of the season, but like, I had Jokic on paternity that week, and KD was injured, and I tried to make a pickup on a Sunday, and I fucked it up. And had I made that pickup, I would have won, I think, 6-2 or 5-3, and because I made it, I lost, I think, 3-5 or something. So it comes down to some of those things, but I have to. There are things on that Nate's doing really well, and now he's got McCollum back, so I don't think it's a bad roster, but I think it'll lose against maybe at the top 4 rosters right now.
Yeah. I mean, if Chet wasn't injured until February,
Yeah,
maybe we'd see. And Shea is good enough to carry any singular team
totally.
toward the playoffs anyway. And I still think, like, I'm sure Bear will find a way to make it there. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his team. He doesn't have a lot of guys outside of Shea that are in the top 40, top 50.
He has 2 players at the forward spot.
Yeah.
He's got 2 players that play small forward, power forward, and those are the only 2 guys on this team, and they are Brandon Ingram, fine, and Julian
Champagny.
So assuming he drops Julian Champagny,
Yeah.
he has 1 player for the SFPF positions combined.
To the rest of the league, that's a good opportunity to go and trade
For Michael Porter Jr.
a Michael Porter Jr. type,
Yeah,
and maybe get back a Tyrese Maxey.
in your dreams.
In my dreams. Maybe I could get Rudy Gobert back.
Yeah, I mean, I think, right? Yeah, that might be a trade that makes sense, and then he goes and picks up Jalen Duren, right?
Yeah. What's going on with Jacob's team? He's last place. like creeping on Alex 11 and 37, Jacobs 13 and 32. What's going on?
I don't know, because I like his team.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on. I don't think he has bad players. I think he made a great trade. By the way, for the sake of my mental health, I want everyone to know that I made a 1-for-2 trade.
You got 2 back and you traded 1?
I traded my 1 good player for 2 above average players, and it was the right move for me.
Yeah.
And I think we're way too often
wanting the 2-for-1.
yeah. Well, of course, everybody wants to make a 2-for-1 trade, but nobody wants to make a 1-for-2 trade. And I think it was a win-win. Jacob and I texted about it. It made a ton of sense, and I think it ended up helping my team and his team.
Yeah.
But like I think this team is gonna make a run. There's some categories I think that like no one gets blocks, right? So he's gonna auto lose blocks.
Yeah.
I think
Jones is his second best block guy.
Yeah. He might be, because his only center is Pirtle, which is why we made that trade. He
Go
might
ahead and put him on IR. He's still got the sick rolled out last night.
I know.
Oh.
Take advantage. Jacob, who's he playing this week? Is he playing Paulie?
I don't know. I should check. I think that's what I'm figuring out though about why. I think it's that he's got no front court. So I think he's losing field goals, rebounds, and blocks every week.
Yeah, I'm looking at him this week and he's beating Paul. But that's like not saying much.
Murray's slow start to the year, and I guess the difference in the way Ant is playing as far as just wanting to jack up a lot of threes.
Dude, I think that Ant was probably the most overvalued fantasy
$74.
player.
Do you think there was a little bit of probably a lot of fan bias in there?
Well, yes.
But I want to watch the Wolves, and I want to watch Edwards, and I just want him on my fantasy team.
And it would make sense that Anthony Edwards would take a leap in the offseason after working with the U.S. men's national team. Like, you would think that after being around all those awesome players for the entire summer, winning a gold medal, he would have improved like a couple stats, specifically his 3-point shooting percentage, which is like
and who knows? I think
unchanged.
I think the Wolves. The Wolves have been an interesting first 20 games of the season for sure.
Sure.
And I think his numbers. I think Edwards should start to help his team out more moving forward.
Yeah.
I hope there's a change in his style of play, going back to a bit more of what he was doing last year.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Like, he has good steals numbers. His assist numbers are bad for his position. His rebound numbers could be better for his position. He's shooting like a pretty good 3-point percentage. But like, I don't see him being like much. I don't see him being much better than Michael Porter Jr. Like, these stats are not an incredible amount better than Michael Porter Jr.
I think that's too far.
It's a bridge too far?
It's a bridge too far. But I think the Anthony Edwards stats look a lot to me like a Tyler Hero, Donovan Mitchell stat line. Just in the way they move. And on a per game basis, I have Ant at 26th this year, Mitchell at 31, Hero at 32. Kyrie's at 22. So I guess I'm putting Ant. I'm not quite bridging all the way to Michael Porter Jr. I'm bridging more towards like Kyrie, Donovan Mitchell, and a Tyler Hero breakout season. And I think that paying $74 for that is just that's,
because that was the third highest.
Probably third highest, yeah.
So with Jokic, Wemby, Edwards, then Shea, I think it's probably.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who the next highest, who rounded out the top 5 there.
I don't know.
You were drunk.
I was drunk and unprepared. The MPJ, like for my reference, MPJ is closer to the Jimmy Butler, Julius Randle.
Yeah.
There's a couple other guys in here that are also having good years, like Christian Braun and Santi Aldama, but like, you know.
And the point that I was making more was like I got Michael Porter off of waivers,
Yeah.
and the difference between him and Anthony Edwards is not $72 significant. Like,
Yep.
Anyway,
I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that point.
we're approaching the 1 hour mark, or maybe we're over it. I don't even know. But does anybody have any other thoughts before we sign off?
Which teams haven't we talked about yet? I feel
Oh
like
yeah, let's just talk about everybody.
let's just talk about everybody. So we talked about the top three.
Yeah.
Let's just go through. The next is Mike Bear. Let's just kind of quickly.
After all that,
Towns, man, he is his rebound numbers, obviously with the being away from Mr. Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
That's
Rudy.
I think Desmond Bain's an interesting combo for us because
he's been. What's his numbers?
So here's kind of this comes back to my RJ Barrett thing a little bit. There's a difference between what we've seen production-wise and who's talented on the court. And what I mean is, Desmond Bain historically has had great stats for the Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he's better at basketball than Jalen Wells. And I don't know if you guys know Jalen Wells, but he's a rookie starting forward for the Grizzlies. And when you watch the Grizzlies, you're like, those guys look similar, and Jalen Wells is younger and bigger.
Yeah.
So for somebody to say, like, somebody sit here and say, Jalen Wells is better than Desmond Bain, it sounds preposterous, right? It sounds like
their stats.
It sounds crazy, and it sounds crazy to say RJ Barrett's better than Scotty Barnes, but these things happen. These swaps happen often in real sports and in fantasy sports, and until they happen, we all just accept that Desmond Bain is going to be really good and that he's underperforming and all those things.
Because
just because of the evidence that he presented in like a couple playoff
series. Right. Desmond Bain, and he was a late first round draft pick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, last year with the Morant situation, I think I took him. Not even second round, or maybe it was second or third round anyway.
Yeah.
But what is his auction value? I remember I was in a bidding war with him.
Your boy Cade having a great year.
Having an awesome year. The 1 year that I don't try to grab Cade.
Yeah.
He's playing that top 35.
I think
level.
Cade Cunningham he's 20th right now. I think there's a very real Cade Cunningham breakout, and that is destroying me this week. I'm gonna get probably 6-2 this week and be at the bottom of the standings. And Mike,
just a triple double threat every single night.
Mike is gonna be. I think Mike has the second best team.
Yeah, his team is sneaky good. I don't think he has a lot of like top end after his 5 best guys. Like I think maybe Desmond Bain and worse are all kind of just like.
Yeah.
He should try to make some trades probably if he wants to be competitive, but or like competitive in the playoffs, because I think one of these guys is going to get injured because Cade is a super high injury risk. So is Karl-Anthony Towns.
Porzingis obviously.
Sabonis no, but like.
What about Danny's team? I'm skipping past mine.
Danny has done a good job, I think, of managing the injuries. Like out of everyone in the league, I feel like there was a early, like, who did he have? He had obviously Banchero, and then I felt like there was one other injury.
Jimmy Butler is kind of always injured. Scotty Barnes.
Oh yeah, he had both Toronto guys.
Barnesy.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and Butler's like a weird guy to have on the team. Always a super high injury risk. Banchero is never healthy.
Yeah. Brandon Miller is going to be interesting with LaMelo out. They just let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah. That's what that coach does to all of his players. He's like,
I know.
Can you just like put up a cool, like can we cut a really cool mixtape off of these highlights?
Like please play losing basketball for the Hornets. That's what's going on in Charlotte.
Yeah. He did update his team name. It's no longer Dan's definitive team. It's now
the Killer Bees.
Killer Bees.
Hey, that was a collab between Danny and I. We were talking trades one day, and I realized that he had. I said, I want one of your. I realized he was deep at small forward, power forward, because here's the guys he has at small forward, power forward: Brandon, Barnes, Butler and Banchero. And I was like, you got the Killer
Kill
Bee.
Bee.
And he was like, oh, it's a Wu-Tang reference, which I didn't even know. And he was like, all right, got to do some Wu-Tang stuff. So
That's great.
I would say the guy who's like obviously a waiver guy, but based on his injuries is Mathurin from the Pacers. I watch a lot of Pacers games because I'm heavily invested in.
Yeah, you are.
But dude, that guy puts up rebound numbers. He's like 6+. That's kind of his floor.
yeah.
Which is big, and he likes to shoot the ball, and he's a microwave man off the floor sometimes. Like he's kind of like a Malik Monk, I would say, where it's like that guy can get hot and the offense just flows through him, and he doesn't give up the ball. He's just jacking up shots, and a lot of time they go in. But
Another B name.
One quick aside: what the fuck is happening with the Lakers? Are they exhausted? Are they bad? They're losing in incredible margins.
LeBron's kind of numbers have been for the last 5 games have been kind of.
So is Anthony Davis's.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Davis is looking
Fatigue,
weird.
I don't know.
mean, he had one 3-point
JJ's just
game.
riding them too hard. I don't know. The thing is, they haven't missed a game yet, though.
Yeah.
That's the interesting
crazy.
thing. I wouldn't have thought that going into the season that they've played it. They haven't sat out a game, right? Or Davis missed maybe 1 game or 2 games.
I'm trying to see if Anthony Davis has missed a game. I mean,
I think he missed 1 for that foot thing.
Okay.
I think it's. I love LeBron, and
Where's LeBron ranking right now? 30th. Important.
I love LeBron as a
Pretty great.
player. I think he's my greatest of all time. But I think that he's the problem, and I think he's been the problem for 5 years. I think that they're treating him, and he behaves like he is a superstar still. And he puts up the numbers, so the numbers kind of speak to that. They almost reinforce the fact that he's still a superstar. But actually on the court, a team would be better off if they had this is really random, but maybe the Lakers would be better if they had Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. instead of LeBron James and D'Angelo Russell out there, right?
Yeah.
Just as a because I don't know that he actually is contributing to winning as much as we think anymore on both ends. That's kind of my
crazy.
take.
Yeah. Okay. We haven't talked about Cohen's team.
Yeah.
Cohen. The last 2 teams that we haven't talked about are Paul and Cohen. They're kind of at the bottom with Jacob and Big Alec.
Mm-hmm.
With Cohen's team, I think it's really tough to build a fantasy squad around Giannis.
Yeah.
I've always thought that.
Mhm.
I've always been pretty low on Giannis's 60% free throw shooting.
Yep.
Because you're more than punting that category really. Scoring 32 points a game is pretty exciting. But maybe if Zion had been healthy this whole year, I would have said this was a brilliant strategy because this is the build.
Yeah.
You build Giannis, you pair him with Zion, and you just hope your 7 categories flourish.
Mm-hmm.
But Zion's played 6 games. I don't know when he's coming back.
I think I don't know that he is coming back.
Really?
Yeah. Zion is.
Zion's out for 10 games. He's out until the 1st of January is the estimated.
Oh, okay. That's
So-
actually not as bad.
No.
Yeah. Cohen, there are managers in our league that just have different approaches to fantasy basketball. And I think that's the beauty of it. Jacob wants to have cool dudes that he can watch play.
Yeah.
And he wants those guys, right? And if that doesn't translate into winning the championship, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happened over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think Cohen has a lot of that same thing, where it's
Just wanted.
I love Steph. I want Steph in my lineup when he goes nuclear, right? And I like, the idea of Jaden Ivey being a breakout guy, so he'll be on my team all year, and I won't trade him regardless of what you offer me for. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so if those guys have hot drafts, they could make a run. If Jacob or Nate Cohen don't draft well, it's just going to be a non-playoff year. You know what I mean? And that's not a knock on those guys at all. It's just the way in which they play fantasy hoops.
Yeah.
Blake, do you want the last word on Paul's team? On baby buckets?
Baby buckets. Gotta pull it up here. I feel like he's obviously the Embiid thing.
Yeah.
But no.
And it's not like Paul's not doing the normal Paul thing of like doing an incredible amount of pickups and drops, taking advantage of games played, taking advantage of the little things that you can eke out advantages from. Like that's been Paul's MO since he like co-ran the team with you. It's probably the thing that he's the best at that in the league, I would say. So it's not like he's gonna have a baby so he's cooling down. I think that nothing has changed with the approach. It's just he spent a shit ton of money on Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid has played 4 games, and
we only went for what did he pay for Embiid?
40 plus.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it that? I thought it was in the 30s for some reason. But anyway,
if it's in the 30s, I'll totally.
But even so, yeah.
I think they were maybe getting close to 50. I think it might have been $50.
That's my memory, but I also have a biased memory because I was so sad that anybody drafted Joel Embiid that high. I was like, did nobody watch or listen to the podcast?
Yeah, I think it's. I think that's the biggest thing.
$57.
$57,
and at 6 in the 6th player taken off in the auction.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah, I think
it's one of those things. Is what is the hard part of it now is you're kind of stuck with them because there's really no manager. I mean, maybe a streamer you would trade him for, but like there's really.
I'd trade him for Michael Porter Jr.
No, yeah, would you?
Yeah, yes, I would. Just to have another spot and to have the possibility of Embiid play, especially with how flexible the IR is in this app. I'd trade Michael Porter Jr. for him.
For Joel Embiid?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would never do that.
I know.
Yeah, nobody would. No, I don't think anybody would. Embiid
has he tried to shop? I haven't received any trade offers, but has he tried to shop him? Embiid?
I think he smartly knows that like. People are going to try to fleece Embiid off of him because Embiid's been so bad.
I don't think he's shopping Embiid, and I think it's because, and I've had a lot of trade talks with my brother in football and basketball. I think what he'll say is the value you get for Embiid in the trade market right now is not reflective of what his true value should be.
Right? Yeah,
and it's true because his true value needs to account for how he might come back and put up 30 and 15 at any given night.
It's true.
What's their rate? Like what are the Phillies? They're
dog
4 and 16 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
They're ass.
I think the next two. Again, we had this conversation this time last year, where this next 2 weeks of the scheduling is unique because there's next week specifically. There's only really 2 games played for each of your guys. So it's like there's a little bit more that goes into it as far as you've only got if you guys have one shitty game, that could cost you you could get 8-0 pretty. The chances of getting 8-0 next week are probably the highest than they'll be in any other week, just because of everyone's playing the exact same number of games and there's only you guys are playing 2 games.
Dude, so, I'm just looking at my people next week. There are so many teams that
you're probably playing Tommy next week because I think you're basically whoever I played the previous week, you get them the next week.
Yeah,
Tommy.
I'm just looking at my roster and just like how many games the players aren't playing next week is like shocking. How few games are next week?
Yeah, it's 2. That's what I'm saying.
Insane.
So it's
heavy stream week. Heavy stream week to try to find and honestly, it's like I hope that somebody gets put on the IR next week. Just so that I can get a little creative.
I don't blame you there.
I've got 4 of them. I've got a lot of injuries in my team.
Michael Porter Jr. for Jason Tatum.
That's a good offer.
So we didn't talk about the text that you sent me this week about any interest in trading. Mr.
Oh yeah,
Franz.
do you want to put that up?
So Frank texted me Tuesday, I think it was.
Tuesday
or Monday, any interest in trading Franz? And I said, only if he can be shipped with Dern. And
Good response.
And then you say, Murray and Porter.
Yeah,
Then I just ghosted you.
you did. I said it.
I was like, Murray, I don't want any part
I
of that.
literally said Franz and Dern for DeJounte and MPJ starting point.
Yeah, you did.
Not saying that I thought it was the way. I said
Yeah.
that's my starting
And
point.
then the no response was my way of saying,
Fuck yourself.
that's not the starting point.
Yeah.
That's, yes, it's a starting point, but no.
I
just don't want any part of the Pelicans. That's what we talked about in our first
Yeah,
pod.
yeah.
Is like that team is just it's.
So if you're low on DeJounte, because Frank has ghosted one of my trade offers,
I have.
and now these are getting out.
Yeah.
Everyone ghosts my trade offers. That's okay. But I actually thought that trade is somewhat fair. I think that's a totally fair trade, but that is dependent on how you see DeJounte Murray, and
Yeah.
I think
Here's the thing: I do not need another point guard on my team.
that's true.
Yeah,
You're
I
right.
do not need. That's like that's an important roster. Like that small forward, power forward is an important player
And-
for my roster construction.
And trading Fritz Wagner, like, for anybody that's outside of the top 20.
Here's the thing.
is
Well,
stupid. He's
I've
so
got
fucking
a
good.
decision to
good.
make with him, and then everybody knows when. I'll be transparent. When Paolo comes back,
Yeah.
I know his numbers are gonna dip. I know
Yeah.
that. Anyone who doesn't think that's gonna happen,
Is delusional.
trade with me.
Yeah.
So I'm just riding the hot wave, and maybe I think there's potential for if you're still wanting him after Paolo comes back, I might.
Let's
might
do it, man.
assess. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my. I think depending on when Paolo comes back, I'll probably give it like 2 weeks of watching his numbers when Paolo's back, and I don't know if he's going to be on a minutes restriction when he comes back or what.
Sure.
But there'll be a window shopping period there. Yeah.
I think I've got a similar situation and it ties into the trade that I offered Frank because I have Norman Powell, who is,
A drop.
in one person's opinion,
I would highly disagree with that.
me too.
Basically,
And-
you're second.
He is
Yeah.
50% from the field, 4.0 threes, 84 free throw percent, 24 points, and then
Nothing else, really.
3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, over 1 steal. So he's basically a 5 category guy.
But he's over 1 steal because earlier in the season he had multiple, like, 4 steal games. Or like,
So okay, here's the question. Going back to
Yeah.
Pritchard. That's like a comp as far as the numbers are concerned. Maybe
Yeah.
the points are in favor of
Norm.
Powell,
Yeah.
but it's like I would much rather hold Powell on my roster than Pritchard, just because he's basically him and Harden are the offense on that team.
Yeah, and the reason I brought it up is because Kawhi he might be done. Kawhi might never play. No, there's like a real thing. This is there's talks about Kawhi Leonard retiring. I don't think Jacob's really banking on Kawhi Leonard coming back and playing this year.
No.
If Kawhi does come back, it'll eat into Norman Powell's. If Kawhi doesn't come back, you have to roster Norman Powell.
Yeah.
And I think he
was
immediately becomes...
he was a waiver $1. He was a pickup on the waivers, right?
So my opinion that you're going to hate then, I think Norman Powell's better and more valuable than Michael Porter. And I think he's better in 5 categories. Easy. So my offer to Frank was Norman Powell, which now I know is not a good person to include. Norman Powell and Dyson Daniels for DeJounte Murray.
And Michael Porter.
Yeah, at the time I didn't think that. I would remove Michael Porter. You could put anybody in that.
Yeah.
But essentially, I think Norman Powell and Dyson Daniels for DeJounte Murray.
And, like, if I was looking for a guy to take my 8th or 9th spot on the roster, maybe I would do that. Because my roster is so deep right now, and I like so many of the players, it's tough for me to think about doing that.
Yeah, which is a response every team gives anytime you give a 2-for-1. All 12 teams think they're deep.
But
At all
like,
times.
But
Here,
like,
I got a question for the trade
Yeah.
master over there.
Yeah.
I was on a dog walk the other night. I was thinking about this. I was like, I wonder. It's a good question to ask Ben. I was like, when you make a trade, how chicked in? Oh, how invested are you in the trade that you made as far as watching the other players' performance? At what point do you be like, I don't even care about those numbers anymore? Are you like watching their box scores or whatever for like a week to see did I make the right like to see what
Or the guy that I just traded.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Given that you're the guy who does a lot of the trades, I'm just curious to
Yeah.
understand like how if you just don't even the thing of the past as soon as that play is done, or do you keep an eye on it still?
I'll keep an eye on it. Like I know that Josh Giddey had a bad game yesterday, and yeah, that feels good because I
Yeah.
just traded Josh Giddey. But I don't really put much weight into that. To me, when you make a trade, it is a point in time strategy to improve your odds going forward. And even if it's a 51% improvement that you view, you should do that, right? Like if the odds are 51% that makes your team better, you should do the trade. And so I look at it as just stacking those decisions, and however the cards fall after that, not to get over invested in what happens after that.
Not to get emotionally attached to it. Yeah.
Because like I traded Hurdle for Anthony Simons and Claxton.
You basically did it for Simon.
For Simons. I thought if Claxton had a couple good games, maybe I'd keep him around. He didn't, so I dropped him. But that doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't hurt my feelings that the trade didn't work out for me, because at the time, I still see it as the right move. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, and I just, the way that I play fantasy sports is, that's my best route towards...
The joy is the trade.
The joy is the trade. The joy is...
And we've seen the dividends from your trades these last couple of years with your win percentage and you winning the league and all that stuff. It's like, it's proven to work. Like your method is a winning one. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Literally, because you won.
I think so. But it is... It's also sad then, because I think that precludes teams from trading with me. You know, I think there's a lot of teams that's like, I'm just not trading with him.
Yeah. Which is funny.
It is funny. It is.
I think my dog is scratching this chair, so I think he's like, we're done.
Yeah, he's like,
we're done. Thanks for being over here, guys. This was super fun. That's
Love and
it.
blessings.
Love and blessings.